The great thing about a burnout is that you get a reboot, a reset, and you get to like a 0.0 or slightly below, in which you can only go up. And that's where the music came into my life.
Joep Beving is a contemporary pianist and composer from the Netherlands, known for his minimalist piano compositions. Joep's music is characterized by its serene and introspective nature, often described as neoclassical or ambient.
Pretty much all my music could be described as melancholic. I believe that melancholy might be the default emotion of humans.
Did you have like propositions you turned down?
Yeah.
And why?
Because they were evil.
What kind of proposition is evil?
Using a piece for propaganda for a country that is...
Oh, you have this? Okay.
Is known for having really bad human rights issues, or working for companies that are very detrimental to humans and the planet. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but...
Could you share a memorable experience or encounter with a fan or someone who said something about your music that really touched you?
I have one story I want to share, and it's giving me goosebumps.
Wow, yeah, see?
I was doing a concert.
Hello and welcome to Kaplankaya on the southwestern Aegean coast of Turkey. We are recording the podcast, the Harvest series, where we interview amazing speakers, practitioners and artists joining the Harvest Summit. I hope you will enjoy this episode. Hello and welcome to the Harvest Series podcast. Today my guest is Joep Beving. He's a contemporary pianist and composer from the Netherlands, known for his minimalist piano compositions. He gained popularity through his debut album Solipsism, released in 2015. Beving's music, Joep's music is characterized by its serene and introspective nature, often described as neoclassical or ambient. You can correct me at any point if I say something wrong. I'm right so far?
You're right so far, yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
And so your compositions have gotten millions of streams on digital platforms, and we're going to dive together in how you create music, how you play music, how you feel music, and maybe your whole journey, if it's okay with you.
It's okay with me. Let's go.
Hello, Joep.
Hello.
Welcome in Kaplankaya. We are at Harvest. I'm interested in which music you decided in this context to share with this audience and why.
Oh, I will do my concert, which is basically a selection of the pieces that I think fit well together, and they are. Over the years, I've taken out the faster pieces, and a lot of it is very slow, and I do that on purpose because it kind of invites and sometimes forces people to go over a particular threshold and really tune in, mostly with their eyes closed. And I think the audience here will be like many other audiences. They will probably appreciate that, and yeah.
You think people are going too fast in this world?
Oh yeah, of course. No, I mean the people are trained to be in their rational mind, and the level of complexity that they have to deal with is always increasing. So that's definitely an ongoing trend, I would say, and it's more and more difficult to make soup out of it and not to become alienated with what you have to deal with the outside reality.
So people are in their mind, you say, and so when you play, you have the clear intention to put them somewhere else. Where?
Well, I mean. In all honesty, it's more like it became more like a group meditation, I think, and I think a lot of music has the potential to do that. But classical music a bit more than rock, for example. But it's a tool, and I'm not saying that you have to do you have to go into some form of meditative state, but often people express that that's what happened to them, and if that's intentional, it has helped me, and that's why the music I create happened to me, because I was in need to find some form of cure for my anxieties, and so yeah, it happened, but now it's intentional.
Wow. Are you okay to explain me about how it cured you, or how it helped to heal you? What did you have in the first place, and what was your journey?
Yeah, I can do that. I'm wondering where to start. I've always had a love for music, but my studies went in another, more rational direction.
Yeah.
And I studied public policy and public administration.
Really?
Yes.
So that's when you were a teenager or young?
Yeah, that's when, from 18 till
Okay.
quite far, actually, to be honest. But I knew I didn't want to pursue a career because it was too much in the head, and it didn't provide me a sense of fulfillment or a prospect of happiness. So I wanted to go into music, and it's very difficult to make a living with music. So that path was pretty quickly cut off, and that drove me into the world of advertising, where I worked for about 13 years internationally, and that has led to several instances of me feeling a disconnect between what I actually wanted to do and which I was doing, and it kind of pushed away all instinctive and intuitive thoughts, up to the point that I really burned out at around age 37. And the great thing about a burnout is that you get a reboot, a reset, and you get to like a 0.0 or slightly below, in which you can only go up, and that's where the music came into my life. The only thing I could do at that time was talk to the piano. It was the only place that wasn't too noisy and too much impulses, and it provided clarity, because it was I started playing stuff that I never played before in my life, and in it I found something essential and something I could grab onto, which kept me kind of sane and grounded me again, and also provided a way to reconnect myself with the people around me, and eventually with reality, or whatever that may be. And the thing that got me there, I think, was trying to understand what beauty is, and it was more like an exploration, coming from I have nothing to lose to this is kind of providing me some guidance and clarity. And what it was actually trying to aspire a thing of beauty, and then I realized that there's a lot of potential in there, in the sense that if I respond to it, if it works for me in this way, it's probably a universal thing. And so that's when I decided to create a record and find out whether this could be the case or not. And that's been the start for me of a 10-year process of exploration and trying to understand what the relationship between sound and music is with our reality and our personal being.
Wow. And now you Do you still have anxiety or?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, and
Well,
you're playing as soon as you have them. You're playing.
It's a good question. There is the pivotal moment is when you dare to switch from rational thinking to intuitive thinking, and the key word there is trust. So when I discovered that mechanic, and I felt the trust, which is like, it's incredible. Everything changes and your perspective on life changes. And so that experience I still have, which means I'm not the anxious person I was, let's say, 15 years ago. But, you know, you explore, you study, you try to understand how things work, and with that gained insight or gained knowledge, you look at how things are going. And so the disconnect between these two is growing and growing. And so I would say on a let's call it spiritual level, I'm not anxious, but on a materialistic level, I am very much. Yeah.
And piano and music are your therapy in a way.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Wow.
Music is definitely still my therapy and a place I go to a lot to calm myself down and to recharge and to also communicate.
And as a child, have you been learning piano? Were you playing a lot as a child?
Yeah, as a child, I played a lot. So I started when I was like a little boy, 3 years old, and then my parents acknowledged my interest in the instrument and gave me a piano teacher, and so I had piano lessons until age 13, I think.
Okay.
And then I played in my teens, and I kind of quit when I was like around 22, 24.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then when you were playing, when you had this episode, when you were working for advertising company, were you playing pieces you knew from classical music, or were you inventing?
Well, during my advertising years, I hardly played because I was raising a family, and my job got more and more intense with bigger responsibilities. So there wasn't really space for creating a lot of music, and especially not piano. I'd kind of lost interest in piano a long time before.
But I mean, after when you were
when I started again,
Burnout,
it was basically this music that came through me and that I recognized as being something that had a particular relevance for my well-being.
so your own creation.
I started to follow.
Intuitive.
Yeah.
That was very intuitive for you.
Yeah, it's super intuitive, and it's also I have my restraints. I'm not a really well-educated musician, so I have challenges, technical challenges with playing technically advanced classical pieces that I would love to play. I would love to play Bach, but my fingers and my body just cannot produce that because I didn't have enough training, and I might not have enough discipline to get to that level. And also, it's you have to read music from sheet, which for me doesn't work together with my. I cannot do things at the same time. I cannot read it and then play well. So I've been playing my own music, and that's it.
You say you're not very technical, but you're one of the most listened to living pianists in the world. How do you explain that? How do you connect? What do you think connect? That's a tricky question, sorry. Especially if you look a bit humble, but if you can try to explain how, why your success, why do people make you one of the most listened to living pianists in the world?
Well, this term was used a couple of years back when it was actually the case. I think there's now people that have a bigger audience, just to get the facts straight. But still, I've had an incredible reach with my creations, and that's been mind-boggling. And of course, you think about it. Of course, you want to understand why this is. So I have several ways of answering this question, and a purely pragmatic or practical way of answering was the moment that I released my album was the beginning of the uprise of or the growth of streaming platforms. So and also the way people consume music changed from that point on, and I was one of the first ones to ride that wave. So that gave me an advantage in the sense that I could reach a lot of people worldwide, which is amazing. And so that's purely practical, and then more creatively or sociologically potentially. I think a simple way to answer is that pretty much all my music could be described as melancholic, and I believe that melancholy might be the default emotion of humans, and there's the sad reality of the unfairness of life, and also the fact that it's ending. But there's on the other end there's hope, and that's these two take turns, and that kind of creates a lot of art and a lot of things that resonate with people. So they recognize something at the core in the music, and also to the point that I try to get to the essence of a composition in a song. I try to keep it simple, not too simple, but simple enough for a lot of people to don't be offended by it or have an easy entrance into it. And I think it's like if you look at a flower, and so what you see at first glance is a very simple object, built out of a couple of leaves and straw and then flower on top. But the actual build-up of it and what it needed to be created in that sense is incredibly complex.
Yeah.
But still, we recognize it as something elementary and beautiful, and I think with a lot of music that's the case, and I think with my music that might be the case too. So there's this sense of recognition as humans being part of the same creation, that something of beauty can be can make you feel connected to life.
Do you think by being making your music approachable by everybody in a way, because you want to be you want it to be simple, is a way of reflecting your sense of oneness in a way? And I know you've been very interested in the cosmos also, and in the can you share about the spiritual journey you have?
Well, that's a big question. Well, I can try to break it down. For me, it all started by the point of everything boils down to the question: what's our relationship to reality? What is reality? What constitutes reality? And with that, there's a lot of metaphysical questions like what's the point? What's our purpose? That everyone carries with them, or ontological questions. And for me, it started with a growing sense of alienation that I just mentioned before as well. And so the answer to that is connection, right? So you want to feel connected, consciously, cognitively, but also intuitively with something. Ideally with life or reality.
Okay.
And so for me, I see that at this point in history or in our times, the biggest need is unification, is unity, is oneness. Because the opposite is what we're seeing. We're seeing everything move to extremes, everything polarizing. There's no room for nuance. There's no room for hearing someone out and having real arguments and trying to come to a real solution. And by now, everyone's shouting to each other and looking for ways to insult the other side. And I wanted to say something.
But unification, yeah.
Well, the idea of oneness, when you feel it, and the idea of oneness basically comes from the idea that everything is interconnected, everything is one with the cosmos. We have the macrocosmos that has an influence on us. We are microcosmoses, and we are bound by, in our case, the anima mundi, or the world soul, and so basically everything that happens is all interconnected, and we humans have an active role also in the outplay of how this reality evolves, even on a cosmic level. I think, and very simply put, if you experience oneness, you basically don't see yourself separated from the other, and so it's really hard not to feel a form of empathy.
Yeah.
So my whole puzzle has been trying to make people feel connected and have them recognize that they're part of this creation, and in a way recall the natural state of everything, and in doing so, hopefully having some influence on the level of empathy that we need in order to solve our problems. Yeah. But now we go from very simple piano music to...
No, that's who you are. No, I think you're trying... Are you trying to reflect this when you play music? Is that emotions you're having?
During my concert?
When you're playing, yeah.
Well, no, it's my natural... It's my natural way.
Yeah, that's more what you think.
That's what I think, okay. And that provides a particular way of feeling or vibrating.
Yeah.
That I can, when I close my eyes, I can put it in the music if I have a good day.
I was wondering, what are your emotions when you have good days or bad days? When it's something you have played many times before.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's not about a particular piece. It's about conveying an energy, and so if I look at one, there are pieces I like more than others to play because I know that there's space in them that I can use to really zone in, and I will find a challenge for myself in every rendition or every concert to find the most beautiful spots within that composition and to kind of link it all so that it's, it feels connected. So that's how I approach it. And so if I have a good show, my mind is not very, very active and I feel that it's connected. And
yeah.
And it's also with the audience and with whatever there is in the room. And if I think about it, then I get insecure, and I go like, "There's people that probably hate what I'm doing," and then I also switch to the rational brain, and then you start to play bad, make mistakes, and which is it's the inner game of tennis. It's a very famous little book someone gave to me once. That kind of describes the two parts of the brain. Yeah,
and you felt the analogy with a tennis player.
Yeah, if you're in the zone, you're in the zone, and then you can trust your whatever you can do, and you can do so much. But if you're in your
And when you're
ego-centered than,
of
you
course,
know.
and when you're playing, what makes you feel good and what is disturbing you?
My own thoughts are the biggest disturbance. And,
Okay, it's not other people, like it's...
no, it's like, I mean, it could be like if I look into the hole and there's usually a grumpy-looking older man that's looking at me like, this is nothing. This is. Then sometimes I get really small and I will echo back that thought during the concert. But I have to be honest, it's lesser the case lately, and usually I make the room dark enough so that I don't see grumpy old man looking at me.
Yeah, what is it the thing you prefer in your job? Is it you prefer to create or to play?
That's a good question. Well, the simple I would say I prefer to create because it's a really nice process to be in, and there's no pressure except for your own drive to discover something interesting. But it's a really nice puzzle, and the world becomes really small, and it's just it's magical if it works well, which is definitely not always the case. But performing, if it can be if I do like a little tour, consecutive shows, then I lose my insecurity and I lose my. I can go into the music really quickly, and then it's. Feeling the audience and afterwards, getting to meet people and experience their response and emotions, it's very rewarding. So my if I was very selfish, I would say I'd like the creation more, but I think the energy release of a concert is probably more impactful.
Okay.
I don't know.
No, I think it's not very selfish to say that you like more the creation.
I really like to be on my own. So
yeah.
And
I think that's acceptable.
Yeah.
Can you come back on the pivotal moment of your relationship with instrument piano? And one of them I think was very interesting is when you inherited your grandmother's piano.
Mm-hmm.
Can you come back on this story?
Yeah, my grandmother lived in a flat. My grandfather had passed away, and that was for her the moment to treat herself with a brand new piano. And so I was the oldest grandchild, and I was pretty much all of them were playing piano, but for some reason she asked me, like, do you want to help me pick one? And I was young, so I wanted a loud piano. I was playing jazz, and so I pointed her towards the more Japanese pianos, and she went for a German one, which I didn't like. And then I would do errands for her every Saturday, and played the piano, but I could only play it there in the flat with the dampening pedal on the moderato.
Okay.
So it's like a study pedal to soften the sound.
For the neighbors.
And I hated that. And then my grandmother passed away, and she gave me that piano. And it was coinciding with the week that we moved into a house that I still live in Amsterdam. So a week later we had her piano, and when I had the burnout, it was actually that soft sound, the dampened sound, that was what kind of helped me and would draw me into creating music. Or I would just hear the tone and it was like, this pleasant sound is inviting me to do more. So it's thanks to her with her funny German piano that this all happened. And she must have planned it, pretty sure.
And the pedal was because of the sound.
It dampens the sound, so it makes the sound softer. Also in volume, it's going lower, but it warms the sound. It's almost like a cushion.
Okay.
And it's by now it's the default sound used in what they call neoclassical music. Pretty much everyone plays with. Not saying that that's because of me, because there were people like Niels Fram doing it way before I started, or Hauschka, or so many others. But anyway, it's still my preferred way of playing.
How did success change your life?
Well, it didn't change me that much, and I went into this. I made this switch while starting a family. So I didn't want my kids or my wife to, feel that anything would change or have them change their plans. And so when I started it, I was really conscious about not wanting to optimize the success, but just wanting to optimize the balance between having a normal life and going around the world giving concerts. And that's been the way ever since. And for me, it's still very unreal. And I kind of don't believe it. So it's really weird. Sometimes someone asks me a question like this or tells me this, and then it feels like it's not me, if you know what I mean. So it's and on a beautiful level, it has provided me with a sense of purpose, and in that with a more healthy brain, I'd say.
And what did success allow you to realize as a dream, and what are the dreams you would really want to realize?
Well, the dream is doing something that has some form of relevance to others. The dream is being able to live of something that is innately you, and using that to grow and develop, and having always the feeling that you're just getting started and that it's never going to end. So that sense of potential and curiosity keeps you really young and very interested in everything. It makes you look different to life, and it's just really, it's a very peaceful feeling, not having to worry about your persona, if you know what I mean. You don't have to be like anyone else. You can just be yourself, which is liberation. It's great.
Did you have like propositions you turned down?
Yeah.
And why? What?
Because they were evil.
What kind of proposition is evil?
Using a piece for propaganda for a country that is...
oh, you had this? Okay.
Is known for having really bad human rights issues and things like that, or working for companies that are very detrimental to humans and the planet. Not saying I'm perfect, but
okay, so you're quite, I would say, like, it's not the good word, but picky on your collaboration and your projects.
Yeah, I think so. I think I really feel that I was so lucky and fortunate to get onto this path, and for some reason I relate it to a level of pureness.
Yeah.
And so whenever I compromise on this pureness, I feel it might have a backlash in terms of not having inspiration or basically, going astray from the trajectory that I want and I need to follow.
So that's what success allows you in a way. That gives you permission to choose.
Yeah, that's very well put. You're right. It's also that you have to, if you're successful, you have to be wary that you're not going to consume your success in terms of buying a lot of stuff and believing in that everything needs to be bigger and better. The success is internally, and it's that's enough. And this also allows to say no, because the internal happiness is way more valuable than the financial happiness. But I say this because I can, and it's all relative. If you're under pressure, which so many artists are, and it's not going to be easier for them, you take whatever you can to survive and to not give up your dream of expressing what needs to be expressed. So it's a very privileged thing to say that no, thank you. I'm not going to participate here. And I'm also aware that someday it might stop, and I do have to say that idea scares me a little bit. And so some form of strategic thinking does occur in my mind and in my company. But it's always based on pure values, and as long as they're supported by an audience and rewarded by an audience, I'm perfectly happy.
Wow. Could you share a memorable experience or encounter with a fan that or someone who said something about your music that really touched you?
Oh, that's such a difficult question. I mean, there's not one. There's not one.
It's millions.
No, I so regret not making notes about this, and I do have a place where I keep notes that I get from people, but there's a lot of beautiful conversations and messages I receive online and after shows. And they go in all sorts of directions. Usually it's, many of them are to do with anxiety and depression. And so the music helping people to, not sink too deep. A lot of them are, which I always like, people that through my story found the courage to start doing the same thing. So they prioritize music in their lives and starting to create things, which I think is it's a great gain for everyone. And it's, so I'm always very proud when I hear that. And I think there's people describing my initial question that I had in terms of understanding reality, and so there's people that went through the same journey as I did. Some even parallel with my releases, and I have one story I want to share. And it's giving me goosebumps.
Wow! Yeah, see.
I was doing a concert in this country where we are currently, and there was a person that approached me with a fake account online, and he asked me if he could join the show. And so I made that happen. Made sure he could come in. And I met him afterwards, and he was a refugee, um, living a double life and somewhat, hiding for so many things. I don't want to go too much in detail because it might endanger him. But through his story and through what he had to go through, which is worse than any movie you will see will show you. And so he had no feelings anymore. He was completely without feelings. And but for some reason he found some support or something in my music. And he came to another show, and that's when it happened that he broke and he started experiencing deep emotions, and he started to cry. And if music can have that effect on people, and it doesn't really help him with his situation, but he's at least he has a little part of himself back through music. I don't know for how long, but that was incredible, and I'm not disclosing all the details and how it was, how the whole situation was, but that one I will cherish and take with me always. Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing, because I think it's enough to show us that the music was a therapy for you, and you managed to share it with other people.
Yeah,
and that's a beautiful story.
Yeah, thanks to technology.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of bad things to say about technology, but a lot of good things too.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd like to know which music you listen to when you're in your car.
I listen to mostly classical music nowadays. So classical music, experimental music, ambient music. With my kids, I listen to what they want to listen to, which is which is not always what I want to listen to. No, but for me, it's I really appreciate having music that gives me, I don't know how to describe it, but it gives me a feeling of, well, the same thing. It's being connected to something higher, a feeling of being protected, and it kind of blocks out all the noise. And listening to classical music, there's so much brilliance in there. So intellectually speaking, there's also a lot of curiosity that gets fed, and yeah, that's the answer.
Which compositor would you play on a good day and on a bad day?
I'd say on a good day it would be Bach, and on a bad day it would also be Bach.
Really? Okay.
No, but on a bad day,
could be the same. Why not?
I would probably go for something really dark like Gorecki or Mahler or. I'm a really big fan of Morton Feldman, and there's so much good stuff. So it's difficult, and I think good and bad they kind of alternate really quickly for me.
And lastly, what's your next project, and where can people find you?
I'm releasing a new album in July, and that I've created together with a dear friend of mine who's a cellist and modular synthesist. His name is Maarten Vos, and we've created a record pretty much in the week in a cabin that my manager passed away, and he was one of my dearest friends, but also a pretty good friend with Maarten. And so we've captured that transitional moment in music, and we're releasing that. The album is called Vision of Contentment, so that's July, and we'll be touring that in the second half of the year and hopefully next year. And I'm doing 2 shows to begin with an orchestra in the Netherlands, where I'm going to play some new compositions and some compositions for my 3rd album called Enosis, which I'm looking forward to. And I'm starting to contemplate a new solo piano record, but that's future music.
Wow, wonderful.
Yeah.
Let's end with the harvest of the day. So this is a
Okay.
question I'm asking to all the guests.
Yeah.
If you can recall, because harvest is about this year radical connection.
Mm-hmm.
I think the interview with you was totally about connection through music. If you can share now a moment, a memory where you felt really connected as a child, maybe with your family or during a meal, but it could be another moment, like of your choice. But if you can describe the atmosphere, the food, the people, where it was.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is not very original, but it is
Doesn't need to be.
the Christmas dinner that were held at my parents' place. And so my grandparents would be there, and aunt of my father, and my grandmother was there, and she was very good with company, so she would really fill the room with her energy. And I don't know, it's like the beautiful thing was we were very young, and the nights not seemed to have an ending, and we as kids wanted to make the evening as long as possible and keep everyone as long as possible in our home. And there was music playing, singing. There was the menu that my mom would ask us before, what shall I make, and we had to make the little cards with the menus, with the little
nice.
drawings. And if I look at it, it has a really beautiful color, and it's like a warm ball. And I have a very vivid a photographic kind of memory of it. And it's kind of, it's absolutely, completely non-negative. It's only a peaceful memory. And food-wise, shrimp cocktails with pineapple.
Oh, yeah. But good memories.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing it. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Joep, thanks very much for explaining how piano is a therapy and a way of connecting. And thanks for sharing your story with so much authenticity and humility.
Thank you.
And I wish your next project and Enosis are gonna do great.
I hope so too.
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't doubt.
Let's see.
Thank you for being here, and
Thank you so
thank you
much.
for watching the Harvest Series podcast.